This is a message from your future self. Dream big, go after the things that you want. And when things don't work out, it's not because you failed. It's not because you didn't try hard enough. It's because. So, I did a video not too long ago about why you're not too late, you're not too old. I'm 44 now, but the things that I did at 29 and 39 that were big pivot points for me. And I got so many comments from you sharing how you were feeling some self doubt, maybe fears going through some rough patches in your life. Maybe you're going through a big pivot, and that can be really scary. I get it. So I wanted to do a follow-up video speaking from what I wish I knew when I was going through those big pivots, especially when you're afraid of failing, you're afraid if it's not going to work out. So the first thing that I want you to know as your future self is that there are no failures. No matter what you do, there are no failures, only learning opportunities. And I know this can be hard to accept, especially if you identify as either a perfectionist or you're a rigid planner. I have been all of those things. And I'm not saying that it's bad to strive for excellence or that it's bad to plan things out. Do that as much as you can, but not to the extent that the only thing that you see is success or fail. Because you know what? It might turn out better than you could have ever imagined. Sometimes what can feel like a setback or a failure might be a setup for what's coming next, which could be something so much more beautiful and better you could have ever imagined. So one of my biggest failures was when I was in my media communications career. When I was about 4 years into my career, I decided that I wanted to go for a media focused MBA. And there were only two schools that I wanted to go to, which was NYU and Columbia, because those were the business schools in New York City. And that's where a lot of the big broadcasting networks are and big media companies are. So that's what I did. I applied for those schools. I expected that I was going to get into one, if not both of them. And I immediately got rejected from the NYU Stern Business School. From the Columbia Business School, I was invited to an interview. So I did my first interview and I waited anxiously. Of course, I was only thinking that it would be a success if I get in. And I was waitlisted, but I still kept my hopes up. And then I was invited to a second follow-up interview. And I thought, okay, this is it. I'm going to do well and then I'm going to get in. I prepped so much for it. And I went to that second interview so eagerly. And I thought it went well. But ultimately, I didn't get in. And I was devastated. I was 27 years old. I thought that was my path because I had been in the media industry for about 4 years. I thought, okay, now I'm going to go to one of the best schools for this media MBA. And then when I graduate, I'm going to have an MBA behind my name and I'm going to get a big salary and start working in these big companies in New York. And then I'm going to become a media executive one day. When I say that out loud now, I'm like, no, that's absolutely not what I want. And I'm so glad that's not what I'm doing with my life right now. And that is not a hate on the industry because that could really be the dream life for other people. But what I realized in the past, how many years has it been now? Gosh, that was 2007. And so that is almost 20 years ago. Now that's 18 years ago. But 18 years ago, me thought that that was the dream life for Mia, but I didn't get in and I was devastated at the time. And I kind of had my quarter life crisis. I used to never take time off from work, but I took a whole 10 days off to go to Thailand by myself. And that's a whole other story on its own. But when I came back, I was like, okay, what am I going to do now? So I thought, all right, I'm going to go work for an even bigger company. Maybe I didn't have enough experience on my resume. And so I'll add some more experience and then I'll try for a media MBA 2 years down the road is what I thought I was going to do. But obviously, you know that that is not what I do now. And that was 2007, the year that I was rejected from the MBA. If I had graduated, it would have been 2009 in New York City. 2009 in New York City is when the market crashed. I don't know, maybe you guys are too young to even know what that time is, but that was when the market crashed and so many people lost their jobs. But that's not the point. The point is that when it felt like that door was closing, what I didn't realize at the time was that other doors were opening. And looking back now, I can see that there were other things that were meant for me because In my logical mind, I thought, okay, go work for another big name company for a couple of years and then we try for an MBA again. But what actually happened was, yes, I did go work for one of the biggest global PR firms in the world. And during that time is when I experienced a burnout. And I wanted to give up on everything. I didn't feel passionate about my work anymore. Nothing excited me. I was so exhausted. I wasn't taking care of myself. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating. None of that. And I kind of lost my purpose in life until I thought that, okay, maybe I should start taking better care of myself. And that got me so intrigued in the world of wellness and nutrition. And that's how I went down the path of becoming a registered dietitian. But even when I became a registered dietitian, things didn't go in the exact way that I thought it would. Things happened in the way so much better than I could have ever imagined, because I started working on a college campus at a student counseling center. I started learning about mental health, working alongside brilliant therapists, and that opened up my perspective about the connection between physical health and mental health and emotional health. That also got me into my own therapy, which started my own inner journey of discovering who I actually am and what I actually enjoy. And now I'm here talking to you guys because self-discovery is such a big part of my personal journey. And it's also a big part of the work that I do with my clients, even with my clients who struggle in their relationship with food and body. It really all comes down to why one might feel so dissatisfied with themselves and their lives that food and body becomes a scapegoat for control, to feel worthy, to feel like you're enough, when in reality, we all are enough just as we are. And no matter what happens along your life, even at those times when it feels like a failure because it didn't go the way that you wanted it to go, in reality, they were always learning opportunities. They provided you with valuable lessons, and oftentimes it opens up doors to other possibilities that are even better than what you could have ever imagined and planned for. So that is one thing that I really want you to remember. Dream big, go after the things that you want, and also know that when things don't work out, it's not because you failed. It's not because you didn't try hard enough. It's because there's something even better waiting for you. And there are so many valuable things to learn from right where you are. But I know how those moments where the fear of failure creeps in, the self-doubt creeps in, I know how that can feel. So here's what I want you to know as your future self in those moments and what you can do. What I learned to do, and I still do this, is I take some time with myself. For me, it might be going on a quiet walk by myself, going into prayer or meditation. It might be journaling. In whatever form that makes sense to you, that you enjoy, take a quiet moment just for yourself, because it really helps to take all the external voices away, the voices that you have in your head that are telling you, oh, but you shouldn't, what if this bad thing happens? Or maybe you hear a critical voice that it comes from either your parents or whoever it might be. I know that sometimes it feels like our loved ones are just worrying about you and trying to look out for you. But at the same time, that's not helpful when everyone else's voice overrides your own. And so how can you take a quiet moment to quiet all the other voices down so you can actually hear your own voice? But it has to be a quiet moment. You can't do that while you're scrolling on Instagram and looking at other people's feeds. You can't doing that when you are constantly asking people in your life for advice, or what do you think I should do? Do you think I should stop doing this? They can give you their opinions, but those are still not your own desires, your own voice, or your own wisdom. And I promise you, you have your own wisdom inside you if you give it a moment and actually let it come out, let it be heard. And I know this can be really hard to do if you feel like, but I can't trust myself. And this is what we need to practice. You need to practice trusting yourself over anyone else's voice, because ultimately that's the voice that's going to dictate your life. If you can't find that voice, then you're going to let everyone else's voice dictate your life. And that is not the way to live a life that feels fulfilling, that ultimately brings you joy, that meets your actual needs. The only way that you can live a truly fulfilling and joyful life is when you are listening to your own voice and your own wisdom, and when you build trust with yourself. And these moments of doubt, insecurities, and fears are the best times to build that trust with yourself. When it feels like everything is going well, it's easy to just be on cruise control. It's easy to be like, oh yeah, everything is fine. It might be easy to not do this deeper soul searching work, because ultimately that is what it takes to build that strong connection with yourself, is to listen to your voice and take time to find out who you really are. What do you actually like? What do you actually want to do? What is actually your heart telling you? Because when you take the time to listen to your heart, I promise you, it does know the way. Your heart knows the way. And can I just take a moment to tell every one of you who watched my last video, who left a comment, who subscribed. I know it's not a big deal. I'm not a big channel. I'm still a tiny channel, but that one video brought in over 100 of you. And to me, that is so, so precious. I responded to every single comment that I got, and I felt like crying reading each and every comment, because a lot of it was so heartbreaking, and I could remember the times when I used to feel so scared and doubtful when I was going through some pivotal changes in my life. And it's not that those moments don't happen anymore. These still happen, but I just have a lot more trust and conviction in who I am and what I want. And I'm no longer dictated by the shoulds. But hearing all of your stories just gave me the sense of like calling almost, that, oh, this is what I want to continue to talk about. This is what I want this community to feel like, to give you encouragement, to walk alongside with you, and to talk about what this journey of finding out who you are and building trust with yourself can be like. And I would love to continue to hear from you what your struggles are, what your questions are. Not that I will always have the answers, but I can be a listening ear, and I can be someone to walk alongside with you. And maybe along the way, there will be more experiences that I can share that will feel encouraging to you, hopeful to you, and help you feel a little bit more seen. If I accomplish any of that through these videos, then that totally makes making these videos worthwhile. And so I really just wanted to thank you for being here.